relay board went red at 0341 station time, and I remember thinking it was a software error. That was the first thing. A minor cascade, I told myself. Backup systems would engage. The Accord's technical division maintained redundancy tiers precisely for this kind of fault. I had filed 3 separate efficiency commendations for the relay architecture here on Vareth 9. I knew the system. I had signed documents praising it. By 0347, the backup systems were also red. I was Accord Speaker 3rd, the ranking administrative officer on a station that housed 40,00 civilians, and I was watching every outbound channel close like eyes going dark, one after another. Quiet efficiency that would have been impressive under any other circumstance. Our primary relay, dead. Secondary, dead. Emergency tertiary burst array, dead. The cascade had not been a software fault. It had been a physical failure in the junction infrastructure, 3 tiers below the station deck. The kind our commendation-worthy redundancy architecture had, apparently, never seriously modeled. All of it fed through the same physical conduit cluster. All of it was gone. Put out a manual all hands, no outbound comms. Nothing that could reach the Accord relay network, tree. Nothing that could reach our allied treaty partners. Nothing that could call for help. Nearest allied station was 6 light hours away and had no reason to interpret our silence as anything other than routine downtime. They would not send a check vessel, not for days. 40,000 civilians, dwindling consumable reserves, no voice. My comms engineer, a young officer named Peleth, found the signal on his 4th pass through the dead band spectrum. He almost missed it. A survey-grade monitoring frequency, pre-diaspora vintage, kind of archaic band that existed in spectrum catalogs, the way decommissioned roads exist in old maps. Noted, assigned, no longer traveled. He flagged it because his instruments showed a faint carrier tone on it. Steady and low, like a single note held by something patient. "Speaker," he said, "there's something listening on survey band 14. I told him to try it. What we sent was not much. Our manual burst array was weak, designed for short-range station-to-shuttle coordination. We patched it to Peleth's deadband find and transmitted a standard distress format, station identifier, personnel count, nature of failure, duration of silence. Because that was the protocol, and I had nothing better to offer. Message in a bottle thrown into a channel that had no business being active. The reply came in 11 minutes. Not a tone, not an automated acknowledgement. A voice, human, female, unhurried, speaking in Accord standard with an accent I had never heard. Vareth 9, this is ESV threshold response. Currently 7 light minutes out on a survey transit. We've been monitoring survey 14 as part of standing protocol. We received your distress packet. Please confirm personnel count and primary failure type. We are diverting. I made Peleth play it twice. Then I sat down. ESV threshold response was not a courier. It was not a small vessel. When it arrived, 4 hours and 20 minutes after that first transmission, which meant it had been moving toward us before I had finished processing that it existed. It did not arrive alone. 2 engineering transports, a hospital ship, and a light escort frigate. 5 vessels, total, for one station's relay failure. 40,000 people who had not been on anyone's rescue priority list. I met the lead engineer at the docking collar. Name was Chief Operative Solon Brast, and she was already consulting a tablet as the collar seal completed. She did not waste time on ceremony. Relay junction failure. Physical conduit cluster. Subdeck Tier 3, she said. We've seen this configuration before. The common fix is a full junction housing replacement. We carry the parts. My team can have you on primary backup within 9 hours. Full restoration in 32. The hospital ship is deploying a medical coordination team to your civilian processing bays as a precaution. Stress, protocols, consumable assessment. Nothing alarming. The escort will stay on station until your Accord response vessel arrives. She looked up from the tablet. Any questions? I had nothing but questions. I chose the most important one. How did you know the failure type before you docked? She looked at me with the mild patience of someone explaining something obvious. Your distress packet included your station's relay architecture identifier. Cross-referenced record flag on your junction cluster. It's been in the Accord's Open Infrastructure Registry for 4 years, with amber notation. We pulled the technical file in transit. She went back to the tablet. It's a known failure mode. I stood there for a moment. The Accord flagged that cluster as amber? 4 years ago. She said it the way someone says a thing they assume you already knew. Someone should have replaced it. She was already moving past me into the corridor, her team filing in behind her, tools and housing units and cable spools in hand. We'll start from subdeck 3. Someone want to show me the maintenance lift. I let Peleth take them. I stood at the collar for a long moment after they had gone, looking out through the docking arm viewport at the 5 Earth vessels, sitting in formation off our hull. Their running lights steady in the dark, unhurried. The Theresi Governing Accord had classified humanity as sub-threshold 11 years ago. I had been a junior assessor at the time, and I remembered the session. The deliberation had not been long. Humanity's treaty application had been reviewed against the standard criteria: tonnage, diplomatic infrastructure, resource output, threat-benefit index, and they had come up short. The notation read, insufficient strategic value to warrant formal inclusion at this time, sub-threshold. Not worth the paperwork. They had not appealed. They had simply continued operating. That evening, while Chief Bratt's team worked 3 decks below, and the hospital ship's medical coordinators moved quietly through our civilian bays, I sat in my office and requested the monitoring record for Survey Band 14. I asked specifically for the Earth entries. I wanted to know how long they had been listening. The record came back inside an hour. It was not a short file. Earth had registered their monitoring intent on Survey Band 14 in the 3rd year following the sub-threshold ruling. They had filed it through the Interstellar Survey Consortium's open access log. Public record, had anyone looked. The FING cited Standing Mutual Aid Protocol and indicated that Earth survey vessels transiting this sector would maintain passive monitoring of the pre-diaspora survey bands as a routine function of their operational mandate. Routine function. I scrolled through 11 years of quarterly notation entries from Earth vessels, checking in to confirm active monitoring status. 11 years of ships passing through this sector, quietly holding a carrier tone on a channel the rest of the galaxy had stopped using. Before the Accord existed, they had been ready to answer for 11 years. The sub-threshold ruling had never mattered to them. Not as an insult, not as a wound, it simply had not changed what they did. They had looked at the sector, noted the survey bands, noted the civilian station infrastructure, and quietly decided that if anyone ever needed that channel, they would be listening. No treaty required, no formal inclusion necessary, just a carrier tone and a patient watch. I thought about what I would have done if Peleth had not been thorough enough to sweep the deadband spectrum. If he had stopped at the standard frequencies, assumed absolute silence, and waited for the Accord to notice us. I thought about the days that would have passed. 40,000 people watching their consumable projections. Then I stopped thinking about it, because it had not happened. Peleth had swept the spectrum. The carrier tone had been there. And in 11 minutes, a calm voice had said we are diverting, as though diverting toward a distress call from a species that had classified you as strategically insufficient was simply what you did on a Tuesday. Chief Bratt handed me the relay restoration log at hour 31. We came in a little early, she said, because the junction housing they had brought was a newer spec than what was in the registry. Full primary restoration. The amber notation in the maintenance flag would need to be closed out officially by the Accord's infrastructure division. She had attached the technical summary so we could file it correctly. She was already checking her departure manifest when she handed it to me. I held the log and looked at the cover entry, the job start timestamp, then at my copy of Peleth's first transmission. The timestamps lined up in a way I did not want to examine in front of her. Thank you, I said. It was not enough. I knew it was not enough, and I think she knew it too, but she received it as though it were exactly the right amount. Survey transit, she said simply. We're passing through. They departed in formation, clean and quiet, the 5 vessels pulling away from our hull without ceremony. The escort frigate was last. Its running lights held until distance took them. I filed my official instant report to the Accord that evening. It was thorough. I included the full monitoring record for Survey Band 14, the precise time differential between our distress transmission and the first reply, and the 4-year-old amber notation in the junction registry the Accord had never acted on. I also included a recommendation. It said, in careful language, that the Accord's classification framework may benefit from a review of the criteria used to determine strategic value, and that the current definition of subthreshold may not fully capture all relevant factors. I used careful language, but what I meant was simple. We had looked at them and seen something insufficient. They had looked at us and seen 40,000 people, who might someday need a channel someone, still listening to. I am not certain that difference is a bureaucratic one,